All right, and welcome back. This is going to be round number 4 of the Mox Masters here in December 2022. Before we get started, we got our winners pod here with one of our players to watch involved. So we are going to be watching that pod. Let's go over all of our players to watch before we dive right in. We have Comedian sitting at 2-0-1, an extremely impressive record in any cedh tournament. So he's looking pretty good to make the elimination rounds of back-to-back events. In fact, winning our very first one that happened in October earlier this year. Higher, we watched a little bit last round, did fall to 1 and 2, not out of it yet, can still do some winning out and maybe make the elimination rounds here. Mitch, WTF It's Not Butter, in our top 4 of our October Mox Masters playing Rog side, did do 0-3 drop, so he's no longer in the tournament. And last but not least, we have Ken Bauman piloting kind of an unconventional deck we got to watch some of earlier as well. He is at 1 and 2 as well. So alongside Higher, kind of looking to pick up another win and maybe secure some elimination rounds potential. But yeah, our players to watch overall doing very, very well. We're of course going to be watching Comedian Ian, our winner from last week, who is going, he's in the lead. He's in the first pod, actually alongside the other 3-0s and what have you. So an excellent record to see. Before we do that, we have a very special announcement for you. So we're going to cut over in case you missed it earlier. Some awesome stuff coming through the Playing with Power team before we dive right into the match.
Hey guys, Ryan from Playing with Power here. We are super excited to announce that we are looking to launch a new in-person gameplay series next year on YouTube. It is all going to be cedh, and we are going to be bringing on different guests and showcasing different decks to everyone to see how the in-person gameplay of cedh is going to be. This type of production takes a lot of money, so we're going to need help in raising the funds to get this series off the ground. We decided to partner with Douglas Schuler, a very famous artist in Magic's history who did things like the new Dockside Extortionist, the new Allosaur Shepherd, and of course the classic iconic Demonic Tutor all the way back in Alpha. We commissioned him to create a very unique, awesome custom playmat for Playing with Power and for you. We're also offering a special bundle that is only available for the month of December. We are putting in goodies that we have never sold before at this point and bundling them all in so you can save money. We want to make this production as high quality as possible, so your pre-orders and your purchases will help make that a reality. All through the month of December, we will be taking pre-orders, but this is the only time you'll be able to get this playmat at this price. Check out the links in the description and pre-order it at the special price now. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support, and we will see you next time.
All right, and here we are in our first seed match here. I think all these players looking really, really good to make the elimination rounds. The victor here, I think, a lock for the elimination rounds, no matter the result of next round. Being that all these players, standing with excellent records. Of course, you see Comedian, player we're following, in 4th seat there. Not the best place to be in any cedh pod, but he is piloting his Winota Joiner of Forces deck, the one he is very well known for and plays quite a lot. What do you think of this pod composition, Shawnee? Tell me about it.
This pod composition is a good one. We have Varrock, if I'm pronouncing it correct, on Tim Thrasios Hulk. We've watched him a few rounds before take a win down, so big fan of mine since I'm there to Hulk. We have Jessica Thrasios. I haven't seen this build in a while. They're going second Jace. We have Helenium on, I think this is Akiri Thrasios. This is like Evo says Black Evo. I saw this. I've been trolling that this deck is dead and they should have let it be dead. But here they are. He's having a good run with it. And Comedian, or Mox Masters 1 champion on Winota, been having a good run, and we're off no pre-games, and we're Mana Confluence into an Elsa Deep Shadow. So
yeah. It's a good start, I think, from first position. I mean, from a lot of positions for sure, but I know in your Hulk decks, getting started with some Mana Dorks and Mana Acceleration, some of the better ways to do it, as our Jessica Thrasios player is going to lead off with Urza's Saga, which I believe should have a counter on it, and follow up with Lotus Petal. Now, the Jessica Thrasios deck, this is one looking to make infinite mana, right? And we're trying to do infinite Thrasios and infinite Jessica stuff, right? Chrome
Yeah,
Mox, the follow-up, imprinting Endurance under that. Can't see it too well, but does make green.
I believe so. We're just trying to find a infinite mana outlet. I believe even if it's through a hull breaker or scepter. But normally those are the means of it that you just play Jessica infinite times to kill the table. And it's a
Yeah,
good
seems very powerful indeed. As Hal starts us off with quite a powerful opening indeed. We're looking at Mox Diamond, going to go ahead and pitch City of Traders. Marsh Flats fetching a land as we speak, and of course cast Soul Ring off of the Mox Diamonds. That's quite a bit of mana to start off with here for Helenium in third seat.
definitely a deck that is trying to power out an early Thrasios into an early Thrasios activation. And kind of does ride that Thrasios activation value train until it can put a win together. But it's a good mid range deck that is trying to slow down the game and get to the mid range, mid game to put it together.
Reasonable. And I think that's something Comedian here, our 4th seed player, is going to be trying to do as well. I think that's a pathway, the Needle Verge pathway played potentially on the other side, which is named Pillar Verge Pathway. That's going to be Mana Crypt followed by Ornithopter of Paradise. That's a card that's going to be a little bit of a reader for the table as they kind of get an idea of what's going on here. Does do a very good job of triggering Winota, as the follow-up of Hope of Gearper does so as well. So now we have on turn 1, 3 mana, as well as 4 mana if you got the Ornithopter Paradise, as well as 2 potential attackers for Winota. I mean, being in 4 seats tough, but I think Comedian potentially with the best start of the group. Of course, that tends to happen when things like Mana Crypt are involved in the equation.
Totally agree. Turn 2 Winota with 2 activations is a pretty good start. And we're going into a breeding pool.
Avacyn's Pilgrim?
Yep.
That's a little
not
promo
fast.
Avacyn's Pilgrim.
Not fast. Developing our mana and maybe holding up interaction. Maybe a Assassin's Trophy with whatever color and a black source. I definitely
having a removal spell for Winota would be big, right? We just talked about having turn 2 Winota, 2 triggers would be huge. Comedian well known for tricking people maybe sometimes, at least making deals that are very favorable for himself in order to get his Winota through and get a few triggers. And sometimes that's all it takes before that's all she's wrote.
My goodness, that was a great game 1 when we had an Inferno Titan that took some pieces away from him. And then there was a Fury that we thought was going to wipe his board away, but did not. But here we are. He's a man of good technical skill and also great politics skill. And we will not judge him for this.
For sure. Follow up of Priest of Titania Priest of Titania for Jace off of the Urza Saga and the Chromox makes green, passing the turn there as Selenium untaps, deploys Arcane Signet, and Ranger Captain of Eos. That's a pretty powerful one in general. Very good at protecting your own combos and stopping a lot of the ad nauseum based combos in this format. But just unsurprisingly, not very good against Ian, who is, once again, the most threatening player as we go to his turn. Yeah, guess what? Here is an Arid Mesa. I believe that's the Expedition deployed. Going to quickly crack that one. Hard not to slam a Winota on the stack, I have to imagine, if you're Comedian. And Ranger Captain doesn't do anything against that.
No. Also, Jace missed their land drop here, which is very, very important for development. They went Priest of Titania, which isn't the worst, but this game could be snowballing right from here if this Winota resolves its combat resolves the trigger. So we'll see how it goes. I believe we're going to that plateau with the Arid Mesa. So I'm willing to see if there's removal here. I believe
that's something you called out as Varrock potentially leaving up, of course, having the Black Source with Elves of Deep Shadow and the Mana Confluence untapped, only choosing to deploy Absence Pilgrim could represent something like you mentioned, either Abrupt Decay, but that one doesn't actually catch Winota, or Assassin's Trophy, which does a very good job of catching Winota. There's a few other kind of ones, like things like Vanishing Verse. I think that can interact in some meaningful ways, but I don't know if that one's actually very good against Winota. I'll have to take a look at the deck list here. Let's see what TNT.
We have the new. I don't know if that one. I think it's spoiled. I don't think it's legal yet. Soul Partition. I think that one isn't for legal play yet. I could be wrong, but we'll see. We'll see if he jabs it. He could be also. He also could just progress his board state, which I believe he is doing. Nope, no, we don't know. We have a donkey boy on the staff.
Yeah, Dockside Extortionists can represent a lot of things for sure, especially with the starts that people like Jace and Helenium have had this game, including multiple mana rocks. So we'll see if that one's going to garner any kind of interaction out of the table. Looks like Jace doesn't have anything, and it's going to enter and make 6 treasures.
Oh boy, this could be a big turn. This could be.
Absolutely. I mean, he still has a mana floating on Mana Crypt too, just like so much mana to work with now that Dockside resolved, as tends to be the case anytime Dockside enters the battlefield. We might actually have like Winota plus some kind of protection or something. That'd be a big motivator to do this like this, as Winota is going to get cashed. That one looks like it's going to resolve very quickly. And we'll see if Ian has anything else, any kind of hasters. We've seen things like Ginger Brute, Loyal Apprentice, that kind of stuff involved. But I mean, even just getting 2 triggers here is just great, right? There's not a lot of flying blockers. He's not going to lose his attackers. And yeah, he's just going to get a ton of value, mana and cards for his trouble. And that's just how the snowball starts with Winota.
Absolutely. If no one kept removal in this pod, expecting everyone else to keep removal, that is how Winota take games.
That is a lot.
Everyone maybe is trying to be greedy, but I believe we're entering combat.
You have two.
Looks like we are in combat indeed. And yeah, there's swords to plowshares, things like Slaughter Pact, all of these available for Varric in his deck list. We'll see if he has any of them in hand as we speak. If not, I mean, even something like Psych Rift could delay for a turn. If we have nothing here from any of these players, it's have to imagine that Comedian's off to just a very, very dominant start. And the table's really going to have to play a little bit of arch enemy in order to get Comedian not to just be wildly ahead. And there is Swords to Plowshares from Varric, like you successfully predicted.
We have a player who is playing not to lose here, respecting the window of the deck, respecting the pilot.
Okay.
That is good. All right. They're safe for a turn. Okay.
Yeah, that one works for a turn. All the mana left over from Dockside represents potentially just another go at it on the following turn.
Now, I think now we have to deal with Selenium, because we definitely don't want him to untap with an onboard Ranger Captain. 2 cards in hand, not representing a lot, but definitely could be doing something.
How about Rest in Peace added to the mix for Ian post combat? It looks like.
Yeah, that cuts off the Underworld Breach line. That could be worrisome for him.
Well, it's going to be really problematic for Varric either way, right? Like we're talking about a Protean Hulk deck, something that works by, having this creature interplay and then die, which cannot actually happen. The whole dying process specifically requires going from the battlefield to the graveyard. Cannot happen underneath a Rest in Peace. So that one going to prove to be pretty problematic for our first seed player, I think.
Oh yeah, I think Varric was settled in for this a long game. And I hope he kept a hand showcasing this. And yeah, the Rest in Peace has resolved, exiling all graveyards. Okay. Well, this is going to be an interesting one, maybe a grindy one, but I think Winota comes down next turn and try again, so we'll see how this goes.
I think Comedian here, as very, very quickly untaps. I think he's the furthest ahead, right? We still have all the resources. He's threatening Winota again next turn. The other 2 players, does this Rest in Peace matter for them at all? Because you mentioned Underworld Breach for Hal, maybe not a line. He doesn't have Ad Nauseam. He has all this mana. Normally, you should immediately thinking Ad Nauseam. He doesn't play black, so he can't have Ad Nauseam. Actually, not a lot of black present at this table. Only our first seed player here, Varric, who's deploying a Tymna, which might do some work alongside these mana creatures. But there's a lot of blockers in play already. Has access to black in his deck at all. So is this Rest in Peace better or worse against non-black decks? It seems like it might not be that good, because a lot of infinite mana stuff traditionally has involved things like Hullbreaker, Horror, Icecrown Scepter, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the only deck this really doesn't affect could be Jace. I could be wrong with that assessment, but I think everyone else has some graveyard strategy as Rest in Peace. The Hulk is a dedicated, I won't say dedicated, but it's definitely graveyard synergy, but at the end of the day can pivot to an Oracle Consult line. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. He definitely needs to hit another removal spell, which I feel like he might be represented again.
Yeah, with this Mox Diamond entering play after combat, discarding a Bayou. Did, of course, be able to get across On Jace with the Avacyn's Pilgrim, I believe that only a 1/1, not really looking to trade his resources, is Jace because he's pretty far behind, I think.
Yeah.
As he's about to lose this Urza Saga, gonna go find one of the very powerful mana rocks that are available in this format. However, Urza Saga going to go away and leave Jace, from what we know, without any lands at all.
Without any lands.
Yeah. So something like a collector for whatever, any kind of Stony Sounds be very good.
Oh, we're responding.
Oh, Archivist of Ogma. Not as bad as an even Mind Sensor, but a little bit of extra value for Comedian. And of course, yet again, another Winota attacker on the following turn. A good play in response to the Urza Saga search.
I believe this brings him. Seems like he's down to one card. I could be wrong with seeing that, but this is. How do you feel about this card? There's a lot of people say it's very good. It draws a lot of cards, and there's some people who are very, very medium on this card. How do you feel about the Archivist?
I mean, it definitely stirred up a lot of buzz around it when it was, spoiled and stuff like that. And I've seen a lot of them in play in a lot of different decks. Old decks that I have tried them in, they have not succeeded. But of course, I don't play a lot of Winota. And being a powerful Winota attacker that has a prominent impact on the rest of the game, can come down with flash, you get that a little bit of extra value out of it with that synergy with your commander, and you're already restricted on colors. I think it looks really, really good here, and I think it's going to do a lot of work for Comedian as we see him draw a card and gain a life per Archivist of Ogma. But a lot of the decks that I choose to play that are maybe a little bit more colorful than the red-white Winota deck, it has felt a little underpowered in those setups.
Yeah, I've seen it in a lot of other decks. I've seen it in a few Timna Thrasios build. I've seen it in some Timur Crom builds, but I don't know. I've never tried the card. Sometimes it looks good on paper, but maybe I need to give it a try.
Yes, leave it up again. I know you're a Hulk fan, so you're just off the bat cheering for Varric. Have you liked the Archivist of Ogma setup in Hulk strategies, or
I never played it. I never played it.
Okay, you just gotta try it. I see.
Yeah.
As Dockside Extortionist comes into play for Jace, looks like Soul Ring was the grab off of the Urza Saga. Gonna crack pedal, use the floating mana from Urza Saga. Dox is gonna interplay, and I think it's gonna be a big one.
It's not gonna big one. This is on. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh.
That's just a lot of mana. And this is why people talk about Dockside whenever there's any kind of discussions about pillars of the format cards that are powerful and potentially maybe too powerful. Dockside's always in the conversation, and it's always spots like this where it's like, okay, yeah, here's my ritual, right? Like I'm paying 1 and a red for a card that makes mana. It's a ritual. Well, normally you imagine the texture looking like Desperate Ritual, Pyretic Ritual, those kinds of cards. Yeah, this card just makes 9 mana, and you can just save it, like we see Comedian very importantly doing with his treasure that's available. And most importantly, the first Dockside is always really good. The second Dockside is usually game breaking, as we see. First Dockside made 6, second one here making 9. Very quickly going to use, looks like 2 treasures.
So what would be a good follow up here? Eldritch maybe just a win. That would
How
be a
about
good
Eldritch Evolution? Gonna tap the Chrome Mox that makes green, and the Soul Ring. Maybe you only use 1 treasure. What do we sacrifice here? So if you sacrifice Priest of Titania, did you get like Emil? Does that just work?
Yes, that's just infinite mana on the right then and there.
We see Palladium very quickly reaching for the Ranger Captain. Is it maybe a little too late for that? Because we can still cast Thrasios and draw our deck, and then Thassa's Oracle. So everything from here could just be creatures. Ranger Captain might not even represent anything meaningful here.
I think Ranger Captain is too late here. I think he's maybe believing. I think it's too late. I think if maybe cracking the Ranger Captain here protects his win, but it depends. But if this resolves without the Dockside getting removed, it's just game.
I mean, there's 3 blue decks at the table, of course. Palladium one of them. I'm sorry, Jason's one of them, and he's the one going for it. But with 2 of the blue decks at the table, I feel hard pressed to imagine there's no further interaction, right? Like the only piece of interaction we've seen all game has been a Swords to Plowshares. Ian could draw a card off of Eldritch Evolution and draw something like a removal spell or something along those lines and maybe try to interact with this combo in some meaningful way. But like, if this just straight up happens, and I think that's the discussion that we're seeing here, if this just straight up happens, we're in a lot of trouble. And I think the table's kind of correctly deduced this Ranger Captain's not gonna do a whole lot. As you know, Jessica, the easiest, freest way to combo off from here, of course, you just play it, kill it by pinging everybody, and then play it again, ping, kill everybody. But like, Thrasios also just works with infinite mana. You have two different outlets for infinite mana in your command zone, and that's going to be pretty important here, as that one of them is a creature and is going to work through Ranger Captains. So there's just a lot of discussion happening to see what we're supposed to do about this.
If he plays Thoracle, it is.
That was he kept the hand, I believe, all banking on the dark side, and it paid off. It paid off for him very well. So we're just gonna see if there's any interaction. I think it's a lot of hand motions, a lot of posture, but I think there needs to be a party pass.
Yeah, I think Jay's finally being like, all right, does this resolve? Can I do this thing? And it looks like we got 2 OKs and a swan song from Varric. What? That feels like maybe a little bit of sandbagging. Well, there's a lot of talking before that swan song came out.
Yeah,
and here is a Muddle the Mixture as a follow-up.
Yeah, Varric didn't say anything. I think Varric was the one letting everyone do their talking. And we're now back again on the conversation.
I'm out as well.
I'm sorry. Emil, I was mentioning Emil as the combo here earlier. The combo is actually Temur Sabertooth, which does require 1 more startup mana. So if we're down to only 3 mana on the treasures here, you do need 2 mana to pick up Dockside, 2 mana to replay Dockside. So Dockside making 5 mana is where you start to net mana. Are we constricted on mana here?
I believe we have 6 treasures left.
6 left. That's a lot.
Baron.
That's a lot more than 3.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't get a great look on the dice, but I mean, he's used a lot of mana.
Yeah, he had a lot of mana because the priest tapped for 2. And he got the colorless floated from the Urza Saga. So he had a lot of mana going into this turn. So
I didn't even see him tap the priest. I guess that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, that's true. I assumed he tapped the priest, but I did not see him tap the priest either. That's a good call. So yeah, the Temur Sabertooth. He goes down to.
Looks like a white creature, but it's not because it can't be.
No, it's a Temur Sabertooth.
That's a Temur Sabertooth? Okay,
Yeah.
I see. It's full art. I see. All right, excellent. So yeah, we have Temur Sabertooth as predicted.
Okay. So
now Comedian gets to draw a card off Archivist, and if that's a removal spell, maybe we're actually getting somewhere. A lot of different removal spells available in the Winota strategy. But outside of like specifically that, we might just be in trouble here.
I think, yeah, because he goes down to 4, activate Temur. If there has to be 2 pieces of removal, or it has to be an exile effect. And I think since Comedian is in red white, it has to be exiled, but it can't be destroyed. Because the Temur Sabertooth gets indestructible with the ability to resolve it.
Right. And Comedian's removal spells typically represent something like Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile. I think they even support, it looks like they support Solitude as well, as far as removal spells that work in instant speed. So if there is anything, it is going to be Exile effect. But it looks like there isn't, as we've returned Dockside to hand. And if this resolves, I mean, I think we're at loop time. Is there anybody, any kind of responses, any kind of counter spells? Because if not, we might just be done here very quickly on turn 3, I think. This is crazy.
So we go down to 2 treasures. We're back to the Ranger Captain. So the Ranger Captain stops only Jessica.
I mean, you might as well crack it at this point, right? Like, people have not had anything. Like, maybe there's some kind of weirdness where Jace doesn't play a Thassa's Oracle, but I mean, I don't think that's true. Let's take a look at Jace's deck list here very quickly. Let's see if there's a Thassa's Oracle among other options. There definitely is. There's a Thassa's Oracle in here.
Okay, so I have to play.
Yeah. So we make infinite mana.
Are we to the point of infinite mana?
I don't know. There's a lot of hand waving and discussion going on here. I have to imagine if the players haven't conceded, there has to be something in the mix. Correct, Ranger Captain.
Ian, Barrett. Okay, so now we're back to a dock side.
Okay, so I believe we're saying Ranger Captain sacrifice is good.
Yeah, there's a lot of thumbs up, so we're saying okay to the Ranger Captain.
And then we're back to the
God, how
dock
sick would a
side.
Solitude from Comedian be here? Just
Now-
like, oh yeah, Ranger Captain, no problem. Swords your thing.
That
All right.
would be do we just want to say infinite mana? There's a lot of rolling happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving of dice around. Dock sides returning to hand. Like I said, I can't get a great listen. Y'all can get a better listen than we do, but yeah, it looks like we're just kind of
Okay.
allowing the combo to happen here.
We
He's
have
like, yeah, okay,
proposed-
well, I'm gonna do this a lot. I'm gonna do this a real lot. I'm gonna make a lot of treasures. How does that sound? Does that sound good to everybody? Well, no, it doesn't sound
Okay.
good to people. And he's like, check it out, I have a Thrasios. All right, so you know what this
All
card
right.
does? I can draw a bunch of cards with it, and then I play my Thassa's Oracle, and then the game's over. So
But
we'll
is he on Thassa's Oracle?
he is on Thassa's Oracle. I checked his deck list. We have a Thassa's Oracle in this deck list.
Okay.
A few spicy ones in the list as well, but for what matters here, we have Thassa's Oracle. There's also a finale of Devastation. Like we could just make infinite infants. We have this like a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, the
Once the
finale,
whole deck's in the hand, we're very done here.
yeah, the finale doesn't work because of the Ranger Captain, but as long as he has
True.
Oracle, it should be wrapped up.
I agree. As the players are kind of discussing
Cool.
what's going on here.
Man, I did not see this out of Jace, but it was a pretty clean win. Dark side. Please don't ban the boy.
Yeah, I'm good to.
Yeah, all right. So we're gonna do this one at a time, but even something like an endurance won't stop the Thassa's Oracle here because of course Jace can just draw cards in response. And yeah, he's going to very quickly just pick up his whole library, put all of the lands in play because that's how that would have to work, and show the Thassa's Oracle. So I believe that's what we're doing here is just showing the Thassa's Oracle. And then we'll be on our way. And that was a really fast pod. You talk about all four of these players in this pod being, very successful in this tournament so far. But also walking ballista. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. We have everything.
Cool.
All these players being incredibly impressive players in their own right. And you mentioned Var keeping that Swords to Plowshares to kind of respect Comedian as a player and, someone that was going to run away with the game with the Winona strategy. And it kind of feels like the recipes disrupted a lot of what Varric had going on. And Jason was just kind of there to be like, okay, well, my combo doesn't care about that. So, and I don't care about Ranger Captain, which is what Palladium spent his turn doing. So if I don't care about what any 3v3 are doing, I'm just going to go for it and scoop the game right up.
With the dock side, literally.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
In
Is
hindsight,
just sometimes what it is. You can't.
hard
The
to-
stack piece you play can't stop everyone, and the person at least affect normally gets to scoop up the game, and that's what happened there. It's a good win. Good win for Jace.
Absolutely. So that was the end of this first pod. We're going to try to find you another pod as that one was very quickly wrapped up. We're going to try to find more Magic for you to watch here in round 4. But before we do, we're going to go to a break and, give us time to get set up with the next match. And then we will find another match for you. So just as soon as we get that transitioned over, we will take a look at more Magic here in round number 4. Very quickly approaching the end of Swiss. This is the penultimate round. We have one more round after this of Swiss. And then, of course, we have our cut to top 16 and then our finals pod to crown a winner. So we're going to move that along as quickly as we can. But in the meantime, like I said, let's go ahead and cut to a break